and stuff like that, it's interesting, as you look out through history, and like even the Federalist Papers, you could see in the Federalist Papers, even though they were harmonious in many ways, still they had their, differences, if you will, and those are clearly evident, and that's always going to be. I mean, that's what, coming together and talking and stuff like that is so unique. Everybody's got an idea, everybody's got an opinion, everybody's got, and it's always good to come across people that have had ideas and stuff like that, because if you've never been criticized, well, then in many cases that means you haven't done anything.
That's right. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Okay, listen, the meeting again is going to be at the Friday the 13th, 7 p.m. at the exit 242 off of I-17. That's at the Rocksprings Cafe. That's on the southern bound side of I-17.
That is correct.
And my guest today is Mike Frye. And Mike, I'm going to do this here. And
call recording has been completed.
But and I got two more. We're almost out of time, folks. Go to freeamerican.com, get my phone numbers, call me. Let's figure out a way to work together. I've worked with people all around the country. I've set up businesses in all areas of the country. And all we need is a little bit of support here. We need a little help. We need a little bit to be able to work together, and we'll keep working to try to make everything work. Now,
absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Now, let me see here.
Your show is scheduled to start in 22 hours, 59 minutes.
Please call back within 15 minutes of scheduled showtime.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio.
Yeah, thank you too, lady. Thank you too. Okay. And I got rid of all the other networks, but we lost off on Blog TV. So if you don't have anything that's absolutely pressing here, I'd like to chat with you a little bit more about this, about my ways we can work together. Now you're an Oath Keepers. I've gone to the Oath Keepers meetings here, and been at a lot of the rallies here when I can afford to go. And I think you're doing good on that front. Tell me what happened with up there in what's the place in northern Arizona there, the last place that you went?
Oh, we have a Patriot very far in Humboldt.
No, I'm talking about the one, the little town, Quartzsite. What happened at Quartzsite?
Oh, well, okay, this past Friday was the last day for four really good people out there at the finance department. I know there was others too that were in there, but it's not like it was a good thing in many ways, but I think they'll have a good outcome is the thing. So right now, I guarantee you, there's probably already destroyed any type of paper trail. In many ways, they can't because of other agencies having documentation for it. But that's guaranteed that happened, would be my guess. Is the reason why they did that.
Was anything accomplished? I mean, these people were against the mayor of Quartzsite. There was a police chief versus the mayor. Give me a little refresher on what happened up there. I didn't get to go up there. I missed that.
The mayor, he ran his platform finding out what was going on with the money, and from that time on, after he won, there was nothing but resistance at every meeting there was some type of an argument or a problem, or, you know. It wasn't until that video of that meeting where Jennifer Jones was basically manhandled, that when people started really getting involved. But that video was also a good demonstration of the hostility that existed in the room shortly after the mayor was elected in. So that's, you know, that's why I brought a lot of attention to it. That was what he got from us. He never did get his hands on the paperwork.
Now, what are you looking to accomplish with this meeting of the committees of safety? What do we hope to accomplish here? What direction are we going to be going in? Do you have a plan of action? We've got to make people aware of it. We've got to get people involved in it, because we can't do this alone, or they'll sit there and try to say, oh, well, you're forming a militia again. You're trying to do this. You're trying to do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways, actually. Okay, there's subcommittees, for example. There's subcommittees are important because they are the ones that have done all the work pertinent to that subject. And so you bring those subcommittees and what they do together in the direction of restoring the Constitution. And essentially what you've done is restored the government in the event of a collapse. Essentially.
Okay.
That's what you're doing. You're filling the gap where the government is vacant.
Well,
that's kind of what the Committee of Safety in the modern times can, really kind of is. So you're kind of like the watchdogs of the community. How does it interact with the government that exists? Well, they know that we exist. We know that they exist. They know what our mission is. It's stated in our name, Committee of Safety.
Mike, I've seen a lot of similar things happen. I mean, during the Vietnam War, they had the Students for Democratic Society. Then they had Posse Comitatus. Then they had the Freeman up there in Montana, Leroy Schweitzer, who's still, by the way, in prison.
So back then, they were able to pull off some stuff. And we got away with the legal justification. Like, take for instance Waco. Okay? In the hearings afterwards in Congress, he was one of the main players that covered up the whole thing. Jumping Joe Biden.
Yes.
But
well, we've always had trainers. We've had Warren Commission. You look at the Warren Commission. I mean, they've been killing people. They've been getting away with murder, and they've certainly been shredding our Constitution. As one of our former presidents put it, it's just that Constitution. It's just a goddamn piece of paper. Recall that?
Yeah, I do.
And so, do you think, is there? We're not the rebels here. We're not really the rebels. I mean, there's a revolution going on, but it's to restore our original form of government, our Constitution.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Now, if the government, if the agencies, if the CIA or the FBI is working for the banksters, and they're not protecting the American people because they're not arresting any of the banksters that just stole $2 trillion for us, are they just making us into criminals? Are they setting us all up to be carted away to the FEMA camps? What's going on? What's really happening here?
Well, I tell you what, from those folks that are active in those services right now, I think I think it's one thing that's important is that I'm sure they know who the oath keepers are. And I'm sure they know what the oath keepers have done for livelihoods in the past and what are doing currently. And as a result of that, I think they know that they need to walk a very constitutional line. That's one thing about the oath keepers that it brings to the equation is the people that are in those services, even currently, they know there's an organization out there that is reminding them of that. And there's a lot of us, too. So, the message is out. Let's do what's right. So, right now, what could be different as to what it was back in those days, for example, is that, that's a very powerful place to be in, ultimately. Because you literally are putting the people in between the quote people and the people. If that makes,
Mike,
any sense.
I have been doing this for a lot of years, and I basically took a break from being in the heavily in the public after my accident, and which I don't believe was an accident, by the way. And
well, look at Bob Young. Bob Young, after his motorcycle accident, was 8 years before he did another concert. So I mean, I understand about having an accident. I had one in '08. It wasn't until.
Well, if it just been an accident, I mean, to keep somebody drugged into oblivion for 3 months for 3 broken ribs just doesn't sound like a good idea to me. But they were successful in stopping everything. Now, I did in that time period. I did complete my 3 books: Mystery Babylon, New World Order Unveiled. That goes back, has a whole history of the Rothschilds, the central banking, one world government plan of the banksters, by the banksters, and for the banksters. This is what we're seeing happening right now. This is why in the Fed, this is why Ron Paul isn't being carried on television, because he's the only one talking about it. And he doesn't promote a war economy, a debt-based monetary system. So, because none of that's constitutional, is it?
No, see, the thing is that, see, what makes Ron so appetizing to folks is that Constitution. People realize that, when it comes to restoring our constitutional footing, they understand that Ron Paul is obviously the very first peaceful option. Because if he was to win, there's no doubt that after 4 years, I almost guarantee us that we'd be on a constitutional footing, or at least headed back in the right direction.
I went to a Tea Party website, and the guy was slamming Ron Paul. And now, my God, we're thinking of these things, these people as our heroes. This is COINTEL operation right from the get-go. Trying to demonize, to marginalize. And they've done the same thing to me that they're doing to Ron Paul.
And they'll always, they'll always use that as a.
Well, what I'm saying to you is, I will work, and I will donate a percentage of every book that I sell, every video that I sell, and I've got I recorded the first Homeland Security meeting. Recorded that at Sandia Labs by Colonel John Brinkerhoff. I recorded the whole thing. In case of a single outbreak of smallpox in a major metropolitan area, we'll need 400,000 well-armed, well-trained, organized, disciplined troops to control the American people, because some of them just won't follow orders. No shit, Sherlock. And are you talking about the National Guard, Colonel? No, they're too expensive. And besides that, they're going to be in Iraq or Afghanistan or guarding the poppy fields or something like that, you know.
Well, that's why they took them from when they took the National Guard in '01 and took them at late '01 and took them out of the Title 32 and put them under Title 10. That took them from state control to federal control. That's why the border governors, that's why Governor Brewer can't just put her National Guard on the border.
You know, they tried to demonize me. What they tried to demonize me from NDAA to get me kicked out of the Tea Parties was they used SPLC report, Southern Poverty Law report, called 40 to Watch, and there's Clay Douglas, the Free American. He started the militias in New Mexico. Yeah. But they failed to tell anybody that I did it in the governor's office. Governor Gary Johnson was there. He knew what we were doing. We had no secrets. He was a subscriber of mine too, along with Ron Paul. So everybody knew what I was doing. But somehow that's a bad thing. What part of the Second Amendment don't they understand, Mike?
Well, you know, that's a very important thing. You know, the militia that's the people.
That's us.
They felt, it's the people. They used to. That's what they fail to realize is that, you know, they put. I believe in the Constitution they put 17 to 45. Everybody within that age group was militia. You know, and even during the Civil War is a good example. But a lot of the towns and the cities and stuff like that had units, garrison units, those were, you know, people who lived there in those communities. And they would usually were the older men that made up the home guard. And obviously, in many cases, like in Germany during World War II, there was a little town that basically had gone untouched. You know, its buildings were mostly intact. It hadn't seen very much combat. Old German NCO comes out, and it was very unique how it ended up happening. The story is that, you know, he basically instructed the young American lieutenant on the proper way to do a surrender, because he wanted the proper ceremony where the NCO would surrender his sword to the lieutenant, and he wanted to surrender the town, and sack and roll, and everybody in honor. And so he had to teach the young lieutenant at the time on the ethics of, you know, an honorable surrender, and that was an interesting bit of history right there. And you know, it's the people. It's what it always has been. It's what it always will be. It's people. That's what people fail to realize. They hear that, oh, that scary word, militia. And, oh my God, that's scary. You know,
yeah, that's right. It depends on what country you're in. Militia comes from our background, but I guess if you're in Lebanon and you want to resist tyranny, you're called Hamas or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and if you want the same rights for Palestinians that the Jews have, well, then you're obviously a Palestinian terrorist. And I'm afraid that's what they're trying to move us to. You know, this whole term belligerent. I mean, this whole show could be considered belligerent.
Or even the word patriot.
That's right. They took it away. You know, and that ain't a hunting rifle, man. That's an assault weapon. Changing the language. It's, you know, I was with Charles Collins running for president. I was with him in Maine, and we went into this college. He was going to give a lecture in college, and the kids in there, a couple of guys, they were looking real nervous. I said, "What's the matter with you guys?" They said, "Oh, you're militia, aren't you?" And I said, "How old are you, son?" "I'm 22. How about you, son?" 21. "Guess what? You are the militia. Are you afraid to look in the mirror? you are the militia. By law, by U.S. code, the governor could call us.
Anybody eligible between the ages of 17 and I believe 45.
That's right. So what they're going to try to do is call. They're going to call. This is what went on with Oklahoma City after Waco. They had to demonize anybody that would resist. The whole Waco was almost a psychological operation to show you, see what happens when you resist federal authority. It was like a psychological operation against the American people to intimidate them, to open the door for a police state. Am I looking at this wrong? Am I seeing sinister motives where, I mean, they had, don't you know, Clay, don't you know, they had to go in there and kill those 17 little children to save them from that child molester by the name of David Koresh? And that's the reason I started the Free American magazine, because that's what the press was trying to do. They were trying to justify the murder of 17 little children to the American people in the press. So I had to start the press. And
Good. Hey, Clayton?
Yes, sir.
I gotta go, my friend. I got company.
All right, sir. I appreciate you staying a little longer. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
God bless you.
My friend, and we'll be talking.
All right. I'll probably see you tomorrow, Mike.
Okay.
Warn Wendy for me, will you?
Sounds good.
Thank you. Bye-bye. I want you to hear this. This is up on my website, so you can see the pictures there. And you can see the donation button below that, the Patriot Unity Coalition below that. Come on, folks. We need a little support here. I need gas money to get up Phoenix to put this together. Make a donation today. Hey, what's wrong here?
There are events which stand as milestones, marking points of no return. Usually, however, such moments are only visible in hindsight. The Enabling Act passed by Hitler in 1933, followed by the Reichstag fire decree, were passed in Germany with little resistance and without public outcry. And even though those laws nullified the German constitution and handed the power of life and death over all German citizens to one man, no one noticed that the line had been crossed. No one expected the chain of events which were destined to unfold. No one understood that Germany had already passed the point of no return. On December 15, 2011, on the 220-year anniversary of the ratification of the Bill of Rights, the U.S. Senate passed the National Defense Authorization Act of 2012. The bill officially gives the military the right to arrest anyone, U.S. citizen or otherwise, and to hold them indefinitely without trial. And since the government will not be required to produce one shred of evidence to support its claims, a mere accusation of belligerent activities is now all that is needed to declare you an enemy combatant and to make you disappear forever. You might hope that such powers will never be used, but history consistently proves otherwise. Throughout history, it has been the norm for political dissidents to be imprisoned and executed without due process. Throughout history, it has been the norm for political opponents to be taken from their homes in the middle of the night on charges of treason. When a government assigns itself the power to imprison and kill without trial, its motives are always the same. The United States is not an exception. lingering shadow of doubt in your mind that we have passed the point of no return, it should be gone now. If it isn't, then you aren't paying attention. We are in the 11th hour. We are witnessing the final stages of the police state falling into place. The stage is set, and we have very little time to influence the events that are headed our way. Right now, we must form a coalition across the left and the right. We must set aside our petty differences, no matter how important we think those differences are. We must unify against our common enemy. Our government has become a mere figurehead to the real powers that be. The Congress, the Senate, the executive branch do not represent our interests. They are bought and paid for. They are corrupt beyond all repair, and they deserve nothing less than to be arrested and tried for high treason. We the people have the power to take them down. It's in our hands right now. The government's power is derived solely from our obedience. Its wealth is derived solely from our labor. Its strength is actually our strength. Take it back from them. If in one unified strike we withdraw our money from the banks which have gorged on taxpayer dollars and cut off all payments, credit cards, loans, and taxes, if we refuse them our obedience and our labor and stand in defiance with clear intent, we will bring the machine to its knees. But we can only achieve this if we look past the artificial dividing line of left and right and act in unison as one people, as one nation, indivisible and focused on our goal. We must mobilize as if our lives and our children's lives depended on it, because they do. This is the 11th hour.
And when they say, I want my lawyer, you tell them, shut up.
Your time is
Get a
expired.
lawyer. You're an enemy combatant.
I am Clay Douglas. If you order one of my books today, I mean, you don't even have to order it. All you got to do is send me an email. Send me $20, a $20 donation. Click on my website, click on the donation button, choose a book, pick a book, send me an email, tell me what you want, and I will get it to you. You can read it tonight. Mystery Babylon, I highly recommend, because you got it takes you back 2,000 years all the way to the Bible. The Bible's telling you what's happening now. Prediction or plan? Prophecy or plan? Come on, folks. FreeAmerican.com is what you need. Mystery Babylon, One Bloody Alabaster Eye is the first in my fiction series. Kind of unique. Takes you years into the future with my character. And no, my character, that's not me in the book. My character is younger, better looking, stronger, faster, got more money, and killed more people than I have. But they're entertaining reading. Like Louis L'Amour, if I tell you about a bar in Bimini, I've been there. Okay? God bless you all, and thank you for watching. If you're on YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, make it go viral. Tell people about the Free American. I've been fighting this battle a long time. Now I need some help. Now I need some backing. Do it.